Nintendo Direct season is upon us, and it's time to start speculating about what we could possibly see. Now, there's a lot of games that could come out of the woodwork. There are lots of new IPs that could be produced. There's all sorts of things that could just appear out of nowhere. Okay, I've given a lot of statements about what I think is going to be shown off, but I did think it would be fun if I took the time to put together a wish list and give you a general idea of what I want to see during this Nintendo Direct showcase. Now, there's going to be a lot of third-party games. There's going to be a lot of RPGs. There's probably going to be one or two new IPs that we've never heard of in this presentation. But for now, let's take a look at previous Nintendo releases that have not gotten a new game in a while and speculate what a potential new entry on Nintendo Switch 2 could look like. First up, we have the illustrious Sin and Punishment by Treasure, the greatest rail shooter of all time. A game that far surpasses Star Fox 64 in style, in difficulty, and intensity. This is one of the wildest rides you'll ever experience. If you've never played this game or its sequel on the Wii, definitely check it out. But I have long awaited the third entry in this franchise to see if Treasure could possibly even surpass this insanity. Unfortunately, it's not likely to happen because Treasure has had financial difficulties in recent years, but I would adore a sequel or even a simple re-release of these two games. Star Successor on the Wii, in particular, has never gotten re-released outside of the initial Wii version. So if it got an HD port or remaster or maybe even a straight up revised remake, that might actually be really, really interesting. But Sin and Punishment 3 is not likely at this stage. With the retirement of Kensuke Tanabe behind us, I think it's now time that we start looking at the possibility that Paper Mario may return to its roots. After the release of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door HD on Nintendo Switch, in spite of it being a very bad remake and a very poor version of the game, the worst available, I have a lot of optimism that the series very well may go back to the original style with partners, with the more RPG mechanics, and the in-depth story. Obviously, we've gotten no confirmation of this yet, and obviously it may be a couple of years before we see this thing surface, but it's very possible that this may be the future of Paper Mario. With the release of F-Zero 99 on Nintendo Switch, it was very apparent to me that Nintendo was on the verge of bringing F-Zero back in a full-priced retail game, but we still haven't seen it yet, and we have no idea what form that game is going to take. Is it going to be more like X? Is it going to be like something new and wild and original? Like, again, we don't have an idea. And it's been a couple of years since then. It's been very surprising to me how relevant F-Zero 99 has remained with its updates and it's just what it's been doing. It's still a very popular game, so I do feel as if F-Zero is, much like Star Fox, going to be the next Nintendo IP that Nintendo revitalizes and brings to a modern audience. And as a huge fan of F-Zero X on N64, and it's one of my top 5 games on the console, I could not be more excited. It's kind of amazing how ARMS was this amazing original IP on Nintendo Switch, and among the online gaming community has been immediately memory hold. People did not want to admit that this was a very successful new IP from Nintendo and tried calling it an absolute failure. Okay, people have this mindset, like with Star Fox, that this thing came out and that Nintendo just forgot about it and it's never ever going to come back in any meaningful capacity. You know, they ignore the fact that Min Min was a DLC character in Smash. They ignore, all the effort Nintendo put into this franchise, and it's very clear to me that ARMS is here to stay. And I'm very curious as to what they're going to do with the sequel to make it more popular with general audiences. And I think, considering the current state of the fighting game world, that this very, very well may be an IP that people take a lot more seriously the second time around. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this game when the sequel is inevitably announced. Lately, I've been chilling during my summer months, playing a snowboarding game. I don't know what it is, but this has been my go-to N64 game for years to just kind of wind down and chill. I've beaten it a couple of times in my life, but honestly, I get a lot of joy just zooming down the mountain, racing my guy, and just like having this huge blast. It's just so much fun. And even today, the visuals and the controls really impress with how intuitive and like realistic they are. I just find myself really surprised that we've never really seen 1080 come back in any meaningful capacity. And I suppose the reason for that is because Nintendo took a different creative direction over the next 30 years. You know, they stopped making these kind of realistic sports games like Wave Race. But honestly, lately, I've been really wondering if they could ever come back. You know, it's kind of interesting kind of looking at this game and realizing that like, oh, wait, they have their own original characters and, you know, they have a little bit of lore going on. I wish 1080 would make a comeback in a meaningful capacity, but the way things are now, it's probably never going to happen. Another game I've been playing rather casually lately is Elite Beat Agents. This is something I've been playing for 20 years off and on, have never done everything on every difficulty level because I'm really not very good at this game at all. But the reality is the older I get, the more attached I get to the world, the setting, the characters, and the stories. You know, when I first played it, I beat it in about a day, you know, on the lowest setting. And now I still play it and I find myself like really appreciating the work that went into like the creativity and like the style and the presentation. And I really wish that this IP went somewhere. It's one of those unfortunate cases where Nintendo produced this rhythm game and it just not going anywhere. And I believe like the actual developers have no interest or ability to produce like another one. And it's like it's very, very unfortunate because it's very interesting to see how many people played this game growing up and look back on it fondly. You know, the more I play this game, the more I realize it's probably one of the best games on the DS. And it's definitely the most unique and one of the best uses of the touchscreen controls there is. Like, it's a very good example of just how special the DS was as a platform. And it's very, very unfortunate that a lot of people that there doesn't seem to be much interest in a sequel, but I will always, 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 always be advocating for these games to come back on future Nintendo consoles. It's very interesting how we got a third Famicom detective game out of nowhere after the success of the first two remakes. And a lot of people have got it in their heads that these games are failures and that nobody cares about them and that nobody plays them. But after Emio the Smiling Man, in which Nintendo allowed the visual novel company Mages to create an entirely new story based on the franchise, I have high hopes that this could be Nintendo's premier adventure game franchise with a really gripping story, unforgettable characters, and a really cool nostalgic feel. I love the visuals. I love the vibe of it. I love like the mystery. All three of these games are radically different. And I really found myself hoping that we get a fourth one. I'm sure it's in the cards, but until we get the hard confirmation, it might not happen. Who knows? But until then, I highly, highly, highly suggest you check out these games if you're in any way interested in mysteries or darker stories from Nintendo. Next Level Games was acquired by Nintendo in 2022. It's been a couple of years now, and the only game they've done since is Mario Strikers Battle League. And that's kind of disappointing to me because I really wanted to see them tackle like new IPs and different franchises. But maybe they're getting the next project made. Maybe they're working on other things. Who knows? But I think it's very safe to say that Next Level Games is indeed working on Luigi's Mansion 4 right now. And I honestly, genuinely think there is a strong possibility that it might come out this year in October. It might be pushing visual boundaries. It might be an entirely new game. We'll have to see. But people do need to start talking about this, is that Luigi's Mansion 3 came out in 2019. It's been 7 years. We are long, 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 long overdue for a proper sequel. Another forgotten IP. People forget how awesome Nintendogs is. The contest, training your dogs, the voice recognition system, right? This is something that I think the Switch 2 would actually dominate at. The Switch 2 has a built-in microphone, okay? It's very possible Nintendo's been working on improved vocal recognition software for the past 10 years, and they're on the verge of bringing Nintendogs back with better dog recognition reactions. They very well may be working on a proper Nintendogs 3. After Nintendogs plus Cats was kind of a lazy, just basic kind of follow-up to the original. It's been a long time since the original Nintendogs, and I feel like a lot of people just have forgotten what a huge cultural phenomenon it was. I've always been a big advocate for this series to come back, and I hope Nintendo is listening, because this is going to be something that I think really resonates with a lot of kids today. It has been 10 years since we got Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon on the Nintendo 3DS. One of the best games on the console, an absolute banger, a phenomenal story and a great climax, an amazing game that I still look back on fondly. We've gotten a remake of the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on Switch, which actually is the definitive version of the game, and I highly recommend you check that out. But overall, the series has been stagnant for the past decade. What are they doing over there? These are some of my favorite games of all time. And yet somehow we've gone 6 years since the last re-release of a Mystery Dungeon game, and a decade since the last original title on 3DS. What are they doing? It's so unbelievably obnoxious. And I suppose, in a lot of ways, people are still playing the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. These are games that you can sink hundreds of hours into, and once you do everything in them, you can just start all over again. They never stop being fun. So in a lot of ways, there's probably no real demand for a sequel, but I definitely want one. You know what I mean? I've been playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon for 20 years. Again, we need a new one, Nintendo. Honestly, at this point, I would accept a straight up remake of the first sequel, Explorers of Sky, Darkness, and Time. Gates to Infinity, I never even played growing up. So there's lots of Pokemon games that Mystery Dungeon games that I haven't experienced yet, but they're also not available on any platform that I own or whatever. It's one of those things where I just have not been able to get into this series because of just not picking up these games when they were available. So yeah, we definitely do need to see this spin-off series get more support. We need to see it get new entries, and I really want to play this, see this get a new game. It's just my mentality on it. I love these games. They have a lot of potential. They live up to a lot of the potential, but we just don't seem to see it enough. So please, please, please make a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.